Hey everybody, I'm bummed I can't be there in person tonight, but I'm grateful that Assets has let me show up this way instead. What I want to talk about for the next 15 or so minutes might be the most important money topic nobody really covers when you're starting your business. Certainly don't talk about it in the school system. And it's not bookkeeping, it's not taxes, it's actually your money story and your attitudes around money, where it came from, how it's quietly steering your business right now. Quick introduction, just so you know who's talking to you. I'm Caleb Bogia-Curles, certified financial planner, and I own an independent advisory firm here in the Lancaster area. I spend my days working with business owners, and honestly, most of my job's less about spreadsheets than people assume. I'm a husband, a dad of five. I've made plenty of the money mistakes we're about to discuss. My wife could give you a full accounting of the business ideas I've had over the years that turned out to be let's call it paid education at best. Um, Next slide here. So, Morgan Housel wrote a book called The Psychology of Money. I would write that down as something to look into later on. The core idea is one that I see proven in my office every single week. Doing well with money is maybe 20% math and 80% behavior. Think about that. You already know most of what you're supposed to do. Spend less than you make, set aside money for taxes, price your work at what it's worth, keep your books current. None of that's really a secret. So, why is it so hard to actually do? It's because knowledge was never the problem. The problem is that every one of us walked into our business carrying a suitcase full of beliefs about money, and most of us have never once opened it up to look inside. So let's talk a little bit about where these money beliefs actually come from. Here's the uncomfortable part. Researchers in financial psychology have found that most of our core beliefs about money form in childhood, before age 10, usually. So I have five kids, and as I learned this over the years, that just kind of strikes me. None of them are quite 10 yet, but they will be in just a couple of years. And the fact that most of their attitudes about money is forming just shocks me because, like, they don't even hardly know what dollars or $5 bills or quarters or nickels are or anything. And yet they're watching how we handle money. Your kids are watching how you handle money. And when you were a kid, you felt whether there was tension in the house at the end of the month. Maybe you remember a specific moment, like a card getting declined at the grocery store, a parent working three jobs, or maybe the opposite. Money just appeared whenever you wanted something for your birthday, the latest video game system, or a car, or whatever, and no conversation was even attached to it. And those experiences, they wrote a code into you, and that code still runs in the background today. Like software that you never chose to install, it just showed up. And when you set your prices now as a business owner, when you look at your bank balance, when you decide whether to hire help or grind it out yourself, that old code has a vote. And usually it votes first. And your rational adult brain just writes a justification afterward. Oh, that's just normally how I operate. So I want to commend to your research here the money scripts. This is the framework that I lean on in my practice. It comes from Dr. Brad Klontz, a financial psychologist who's done real academic research in this area. He calls these beliefs money scripts. They're unconscious, they're formed early, and they predict financial behavior really, really well. I use this with all of my clients, and honestly, it's one of the starting points for my work. I just want to know where people are at in their thinking, what kind of obstacles we're going to have to implementing some of the most cutting edge financial planning strategies we can cook up with over here at Focused Founders. I mean, the reality is we seek to be a really modern, cutting edge, high end firm, but if we have the best plan and the best advice in the world, but it doesn't actually map out to a client in the real world, if they never implement the plan, then it's just kind of pointless. So, what you're going to see with these money scripts is that every script has a gift buried in it and a trap wrapped around it. The goal tonight is just to see yours clearly. As we walk through each one, I feel like one of these is just going to connect with you. You're going to feel a little bit like I've been reading your mail here, but hopefully one of these jumps out at you. There is going to be a link to the free assessment you can take here afterwards. So let's start it off. Money avoidance. That's script number one here. It's the belief that money is somehow bad or that rich people are corrupt or that you don't really deserve to have much money after all. It sounds kind of noble, right? Like almost humble, but watch how it plays out in a business. The money avoidant person undercharges chronically. They discount the moment that a customer hesitates because charging full price feels greedy. And this isn't even like a political thing about wealth. This is just a personal belief. I've seen people on both sides of the aisle struggle with this to say, man, this feels like a lot of money that I'm charging. Well, can it actually help the person in multiples value of whatever you're charging them? Well, yeah, I know, but then perhaps you owe that client an obligation to charge them for that so that they actually take it seriously and get the value out of it that you're promising to begin with. A 2 grand fee may not prompt the action from your end client that a 10 grand fee would, when either one is going to generate 20 grand of value to them if they actually take it seriously. Um, this type of person apologizes when they send an invoice. They avoid looking at their numbers because the numbers make them anxious. There's a pile of mail, an inbox folder, an old budgeting or bookkeeping app they haven't looked at. Usually there's some credit card debt here. Typically like 5 to 10 grand for a lot of people, just kind of stagnant, hanging out there. If you've ever done great work for somebody and then felt a wave of guilt when it came time to get paid for it, this is probably your money script talking. The work was worth it, but the old code that was programmed into you growing up just disagrees with that. Interestingly, check out over here. I think you can see my cursor on the screen. You might be leaning this way if you grew up in a home where money was the thing that your parents fought about. So it still feels like conflict. Wealth was talked down morally, like rich people are greedy, money corrupts. There's virtue in having less. Financial crisis kept recurring and the family coped by not looking at it. So I've seen this when parents of clients had bipolar personality disorder. I've seen this in the real world where like there were manic periods of spending and the kids just kind of went along for the ride. That the family still ended up middle class basically, but they just felt a lot of instability about how their parents treated money. And so that wound up creating a money avoidant one. Just one client off the top of my head had this experience. Let's go on to the next one here. Money worship. So this one gets called money focus or money worship. I think money worship's a little bit more jarring because it chases the ideas of golden calves or worshiping money like an idol. And in reality, it's really just have the mindset that I have to have more. It's going to fix all the issues. I'm never going to be satisfied. There's never going to be enough. The problem is it leads to unsustainable growth and stress. So it's the business owner who just continues to keep starting new businesses, even when he's got one that's working really well. And a lot of times these are just chasing whatever new fad is out there. So believe me, as I go through this presentation, I'm not taking shots at any industry, any of you who might be watching this. But indeed, I've done all the classic things in the past, like real estate wholesale, whatever you want to name it, all the fad businesses going back over the last decade, e-commerce, everything. But maybe today this is like the AI, oh, I just used AI to build an app and now it's going to help these businesses. And now I'm going to help do SaaS or like software as a service to help some local business owners with their problems. And we're implementing AI for them. Maybe that was the thing a couple of years ago when it first started coming out, but it's just all of this perpetual chasing the latest shiny object that I tend to see show up with this type of client. And entrepreneurs are especially prone to this one because ambition and worship look identical from the outside. They chase top line revenue and they never check the profit. They take every client, they work every weekend, they tell their family it's temporary until they hit a certain revenue threshold. They say, oh man, after I hit 100 grand, after I hit 200 grand, after I hit 500,000 or whatever that winds up being. But it's a gift and a curse. And the gift inside the script is the drive. These people are self-motivated, genuinely. But if the finish line keeps moving every time you approach it, that's worth noticing because it's not a business plan or even a finish line. It's just a permanent treadmill. So again, the family patterns that might feel relevant to you. If you grew up in a house where there's never enough, or when the answer was always, when we finally have money, it was the promised fix for the family stress. So more still feels like the finish line. Work and providing were how love got expressed. Like the absentee parent who's just at the office all the time. You might be more predisposed to money worship if that was just the family value. Next up, money status. So this is where your net worth and your self-worth get welded together. You are what you display. In a young business, this one is expensive. It's the brand new truck before there's profit to justify it, the premium office lease in year one, the logo redesign, the gear, the image spending, all of it aimed at looking successful before being successful. social media pours gasoline on this script because you're comparing your messy chapter 1 to somebody else's highlight reel chapter 20. I'll be honest with you, this one has teeth for me personally. When you're building something, you want people to see it working. But every dollar spent on looking successful is a dollar that can't be spent on becoming successful. Your customers care whether you deliver. Almost nobody is inspecting your truck. This is something I had to get over early on. So there's this conception around financial advisors or planners that you want somebody managing your money who has money or who knows it. And by choice, I drive a 22-year-old Honda with 280,000 miles on it. And that works for my family. My wife has a nicer minivan for the kids, also a used, decently high mileage Japanese van. But to me, that just works, and it feels foolish to go more than that. But I did have to deal with that pressure at first. Like, oh, am I showing up at a client's house in this? What does that say? But I would argue that a lot of industries are probably less prone to the real necessity of that appearance than mine. Like, I made a little joke here about the restaurateurs driving Range Rovers while they're behind on rent. If you've ever opened up the books of a restaurateur, they often have some of the highest top line revenue that you encounter in local business owners. But if you really dive into their net, the net revenue that these guys have is generally not going to be as high. Obviously, there's plenty of people, great clients who break the mold, but I think there is a real pressure to start driving the fancy car and look like the guy who owns that popular place in town. Um, you might be this way if you grew up struggling financially and felt looked down on for it. Like you're just tired of being the kid with the messy shoes or the old backpack showing up at school every year. Maybe some of your grandparents are this way. I had a grandparent this way. Like she was the definition of revenge spending because she grew up in the Great Depression, couldn't have anything. And then as soon as she got money of her own, and it was like the 60s, the 70s, like just buying all the things at that point, like all the pearl necklaces and whatever other stuff that people in those days used to place a lot of value in. Next one up here is money vigilance. So this is the most disciplined one. The belief that money must be watched, saved, protected, and never discussed. Of the four, this one correlates with the best financial outcomes, admittedly. The vigilant save consistently. They live below their means. They don't carry dumb debt. There's a lot to admire. But the trap is real. Vigilance can curdle into fear. I've sat across from people who spent decades saving beautifully and then couldn't let themselves enjoy any of it. One person I worked with had done everything right, had genuinely won the game, still couldn't bring themselves to book anything nicer than the cheapest hotel on the list. This guy had like $6 million from his very successful engineering career. And started saving into a Roth IRA like the year that the Roth IRA came out and even became a thing back in 1996. And they just like did all the things right. And yet here they are. They could have retired in their mid 50s, or here they are in their early 60s. I just got to make sure I'm good. Like, bro, you are good. You've been good for a while. You're okay to do a little bit more than just the Motel 6 that they're traveling. So locally here in Lancaster, I see the show up. A lot of people are Dave Ramsey extremists, is what I like to call it. And I have no judgment for that per se. I started out there personally with Dave Ramsey. But it's the people who really hang on to that as a lifestyle for many, many years, kind of for no reason, just to stack up money to some eventual goal that never really comes to fruition. And I had to drop a joke here about Lancaster County Mennonites. Very self-deprecating, amazing, generous people, some of the best givers that the country knows, really. But they have a reputation for being very frugal, and it's rightly earned. In my industry, we refer to it as Lancaster County stealth wealth. People who you would never guess. They work some blue-collar job. You have an idea what they earn is probably not very much. And then one way or another, you work with them or find out how much they have, and it's like a couple million. And you're like, how did that even turn into that? And it's exactly this, is money vigilance. Yes, indeed, as my next line there says, if this is you, you've probably been silently judging the other people watching this video because you have a YNAB or an EveryDollar subscription and you track that budget all the time. Your QuickBooks are immaculate. So the risks here, this isn't the best one. None of these four are better or worse than the others. They're all just different. They all have different gifts and curses. That kind of a fear can limit growth. Investing is essential for progress. As business owners, we need to be taking big risks, not stupid risks, not foolish ones, but big ones that allow us to grow our business, wise ones. And if we're always just saying, oh, how can I save money? How can I get the cheapest service? Of course, I wouldn't want to spend that kind of money on marketing. Of course, I'm not going to hire that person until I'm good and ready for it, i.e., when you're overburdened and your family never sees you. Then we're going to miss out some of those growth opportunities. You might grow up in a house where money was genuinely scarce and that was your means of survival. Or again, more of a cultural value if money was a private, almost shameful topic. You never knew what your parents made. This is kind of the opposite of my grandparent I mentioned a minute ago with the money status, but Depression era frugality could get handed down like a family heirloom, certainly. So let's go on to the next one here. So, quick self check. Which of these scripts made you wince when you read that? Which one really felt like it hit home for you? Next question. Notice your reactions under stress. How do you see these things coming out? When we're tired, when we're hungry, when we're stressed, that's when a lot of times we see these modes emerging, or when we're scared. I think that's a really big one. And look at what scares you. Are you scared of the idea of making money sometimes? Are you scared of the idea of not looking like you have it? Are you scared of genuinely not having it? Or you feel like it's the antidote to all your problems that's just out of reach? Then reflect on some past money decisions. Think about things that you've done in the past that you probably hold judgment over yourself on. Is that judgment really valid? Is this just your internal code doing what it was programmed to do? In which case, maybe judgment isn't really warranted for that. You can give yourself a break. Explore some beliefs behind your choices. What has driven you to make these kinds of calls? And then again, there's a free assessment available. That link will be in the comments here below. So one more slide, how these scripts affect business. Let me connect this. So in the day-to-day, they show up in four places that I see pretty constantly. There's pricing. Most new owners don't set prices based on value. They set prices based on fear, whichever flavor their script serves. Fear of seeming greedy, fear of losing the sale, fear of being judged, etc. This is the blurry pile, personal money and business money living in one account. So you never actually know if the business made money this month. You just know whether the account feels okay or not. Um, Feast or famine, big month, spend big, slow month, panic. Riding that tide without ever building a system to smooth it and calling it normal because it's all you've known. I talked to business owners who've been doing one thing or another for 40 years and they still live that way, even though they have no need to live that way. Other business owners in the same exact industry figured it out by year 5 or year 10, and then they've gotten off the treadmill. There are real ways to do this. So then the last one is avoidance until April. So not looking at the numbers all year long, then getting hit with the tax bill plus penalties and interest. That 5 minutes of attention 6 months earlier would have prevented all that. Every spring, I tend to see some version of this happening. It's actually a big reason why people come in my door. All right, now let's talk about solving some of this. So here's the pivot. If you remember one sentence from tonight, make it this one. Willpower alone is a terrible business system. You can't white knuckle your way past 30 years of programming. Nobody can. The people I know who do well with money are rarely the most disciplined in the room. They're the ones who figure out how their brain works, and then they quietly build systems around it. They make the important decisions once in advance when they're calm instead of making them over and over in the moment when the old script is screaming. They just look and say, here's my line in the sand. If something crosses that, I've already pre-decided what's going to happen. I'm simply just going to respond to that. I don't have to figure it out in the moment. I already have a canned response for this moment. It's a system. What does it look like practically? A couple recommendations here. An automatic transfer that moves a percentage of every deposit into a separate tax account. So if any of you have heard of Profit First, I like most of the things in that system. I think for a lot of business owners, the Profit First system's a good place. I think that's based off a book out there you can find. Certainly there's articles, or just ask your favorite AI about it and it can explain Profit First to you. So having that tax money gone before you can feel attached to it, just already into a separate bank account, is really valuable. A real separation between business and personal accounts so the numbers can finally tell you the truth. And so you're not endangering yourself of piercing the corporate veil. I don't think we use that kind of terminology very often in the business world. I see that a lot in my world, though. To pierce the corporate veil or to give the IRS, really, it's the legal system, any kind of hint that you might be using a business for personal ends, like putting your Hulu on your business card, or even the opposite can be true. It's not a good thing. It opens you up to potentially some real liability. If somebody tries to come after the business and say, well, this is kind of a sham business anyways, like there's no corporate veil segregating personal and business finances, then potentially this has happened. Such creditors or even bogus lawsuit types of things, they could come after you for it and not just the business. So none of these things are going to require active discipline from you. It just requires a good decision one time here at the beginning to set this up. The other piece to this, you could just hit a recurring 30-minute money date on your calendar, talk about with your business or a relational partner, same time every week or every month, so that reviewing your numbers stops being something you have to wait to be in the mood for, and it just gets to be an appointment. And so I'm serious. As one homework assignment here, as I've seen the power of calendar appointments personally, I think a lot of you watching this might just take a moment. I'm going to pause for like 10 seconds here. Go ahead, open up your calendar app, pick a day, put a 30-minute appointment on there, set it recurring weekly, set a reminder on there, and actually show up to this where you're going to sit down and look at your finances. I'll wait. All right. And if I was any good at video recording, I would definitely put in the Jeopardy song right there, but I'm not. So let's just move on to the next slide. You actually can rewrite your script. So a money script is something not necessarily that you're born with, it's something that you learn. And like most behaviors, you really can relearn it, but it has to be a really intentional thing. A lot of you watching this are probably going to be dealing with about 30 years of wiring that you're trying to change. So the first step is naming it. Write the belief down in plain words. Charging full price is greedy. I'll relax when I hit 200K. People need to see me winning because I want to be seen as a winner. Seeing this money script, the story that you're telling yourself and about money, written down in ink on paper, takes some of its power away. For real. Second, test it. Ask yourself, is this belief true always? Is it true sometimes or never? Most scripts are half truths. And that's what makes them so dangerous. There is an ounce of truth in them. Money vigilance is right. The saving matters. It's wrong that spending is danger. Money avoidance is right that greed exists. It's wrong that your invoice is an example of it. You're not deleting the belief, you're demoting it from law to opinion. Third, build around it. This is the systems piece from the last slide. If you know you avoid your books, don't just resolve to be better at checking QuickBooks. Actually schedule it, automate it, or just hire it out, quite frankly. That's the reason why I brought an excellent local bookkeeper on board here with my firm. He's the bookkeeping partner. If there's ever any kind of bookkeeping questions or needs that I run into with clients, it's just a really seamless, streamlined offering because I just have so many people who I ask them a financial planning question. Hey, how much do you think you can save per month? Oh, I have no idea. Okay, I have no idea how to figure out when you can retire. Let's work on that. Oh man, the books are a mess. Okay, we need to talk to my bookkeeper guy. We can get some help there. So really, it's a big piece of a longer term, much bigger puzzle, having cleaner books. It's not really a fun, overachieving, optional type of thing. It's something that's critical if you want an efficient plan that doesn't make you work a lot longer and harder than you have to. Make the right choice, the default option, so the script has nothing to hang on to. Now, I did give some homework this week. I don't know if anybody watching this is or was a teacher at some point. I love when I have teacher clients that I get to give them homework. But the first piece is reflecting on your earliest money memory. So Whatever that is, maybe take a moment to think about that as I'm talking here, but write it down in one concise paragraph. Like, is that the time you went to the grocery store as a kid and you watched that card get declined? Or more likely, you just watched a parent have to put things back? They said, oh, well, we can't afford it this week. Oh, we can't afford that. That sets a script using the word can't. Maybe a different word that you could use for yourself or with your own children if you have them is we're choosing not to buy that this week. We're not choosing to purchase that because we do have choice. It's not that you can't, because as business owners, you have limitless potential as long as you help to not burn out too soon by spending too much money early on, running out of it before you get to grow. Um, so number two, homework assessment here, complete the money script inventory. Again, that'll be in the link. The link to that will be in the comment section. Just see if it matches with whichever one you were feeling really struck you as I was going through this presentation. Three, now this is the action step. Open one separate bank account this week for taxes or for profit. You get to decide. And again, check out profit first. I think it's going to be a helpful basic framework just to get you started. Is set up one small automatic transfer into it, even 5% of deposits. The amount matters much less than the fact that it exists. Even if you only put 3% aside into it, and then you still get a big tax hit in the new year, well, congrats, you did something behaviorally that was right, and it was directionally correct for you at that time, heading in the right direction. Then do those three things. You'll be ahead of most business owners I meet, including plenty who've been at this for decades and are now trying to sell the business and retire and go, man, I should have put more into retirement all along the way, but I don't really feel like I could, or I don't know if I can sell the business. Oh, I'm looking forward to taking my very first vacation in 30 years because I never figured out how to make that happen early on. All right. And the last thought here, the beliefs that you inherited about money were written by people and circumstances that you didn't choose at an age when you couldn't push back. That was your first chapter. It doesn't have to be the whole book. Your money story is not finished. And as of right now, you know that you're the one holding the pen. You get to keep writing the book. So I just wanted to say thank you for having me, even from a distance here. Sorry again, I couldn't be with you tonight. I live in Mount Joy, not even that far away. I just had a calendar conflict here. But my contact info is right here on the screen. If any of this hit home and you want to talk it through, my door's always open. Assets is doing really important work. I'm glad to be a small part of it. Take care, everybody. Sorry, last note here before I forget. This is a link. If you scan the QR code, you can get a free ebook and audiobook of my book here that's going to release hopefully in a month or two. Self-published. It's like 200 pages or something. But anyways, feel free to grab that for free. I also have a podcast. I think you'll be getting the link for that as well. And again, I wish you all the best. If anybody wants to jump on some sort of a 30-minute free call with me just as pro bono, I want to extend that offer to anybody here through the Assets ecosystem. I wish you all the best in your growth. Thanks so much.